Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring some new products from the Rabbit Hole Designs. They are actually celebrating their 4th birthday, and so I am using today the 4-year birthday stamps and dies as well as the Sweet Wishes stamps and dies. This is a card that I had made for the Instagram hop that we did on a Saturday, but I did not do a video with it. So we're going to be doing a lot of the same things, just with well, not even really a huge different color scheme. But anyway, we're going to be layering it and making it more of a scene card, which you guys know is really much more of my style. So the second to last video I did, in it, I did some frames around my card, and I like frames. I like to have things framed in. I think it looks neater. And so here what I'm doing is I'm cutting myself a frame just out of an A2 piece of cardstock, which is 5.5 by 4.25, and then 1/4 of an inch in, which is super easy to do with my Fiskars trimmer because you can see right where you're cutting. I cut out a white frame for around my card. Now, in stamping my stamps, I super love all of these. I think they're super cute. They've got like the little suckers and the banners. There's some presents, though I didn't use those this time around, and some cupcakes, which are totally adorable. And I wanted to be able to use them together. But for the scale, the cherry on top cupcake is actually a little bit bigger than the birthday cupcake with the candle. And so because of that, this is how I came up with my layout. To be in correct perspective, the smaller item needs to be in the back. And so I thought it would be cute to have one portion of the scene kind of popping up out of the frame and one portion of the scene inside the frame to make our layered framed birthday card as advertised. You're welcome. So here I'm stamping down. I used Intense Blacking from Hero Arts. It's safe for alcohol markers, which is what I'm going to be doing all of my coloring with. You obviously can use whatever you have on hand that is safe for whatever medium that you're using. You could color this any way you would like. I like alcohol markers, so that's what I chose. For the cupcakes themselves, I am doing a little bit of stippling just to give them a little bit of texture like the top of a cupcake would be. Darkest little polka dots are going to go in the shadow areas. Lighter polka dots will go on the outside edges where the highlights are, though I do make polka dots with all of them all over each other so that they kind of lift each other or deepen the color to give me a little bit of dimension. For the cupcake wrappers, I did both of them in blue. I typically use gray, so like they look like more of a metallic. But I thought that this would be just kind of something fun and different. And so I chose 3 colors here. I am going in with my darkest color first. And I will say, this marker is on the drier side. So the way that I'm able to kind of get in there with the, like the teeny tiny lines is super light pressure, but it also helps that my marker is a bit on the drier side, so that it's not kind of bleeding all over. So I went in with my darkest color and put that into my darkest areas, i.e. where the lines are. Then from there, I'm going to go in with my mid-tone and go over the darkest areas and then slightly out a bit further. You'll see that I still have quite a bit of white in my cupcake liner. And then the last color will go over all 3 of them. You can leave some white as a highlight. That's totally fine. If not, like if you find that that's too challenging, you can always go back in and put that white highlight in with a white gel pen and nobody will know the difference. So now that both my cupcake liners are colored, I'm going to move on to the frosting. Even though they're 2 different cupcakes, I chose to color them similarly, like with the same idea, so that almost like when I do my kids' birthday parties, I decorate them similar. So I do different colored, we've talked about this before on my channel. I do chocolate and chocolate, vanilla and vanilla, chocolate cake, vanilla frosting, vanilla cake, chocolate frosting. That's how I do my cupcakes. Though, as previously discussed, I'm not going to do that next year. Or this year. I forgot it's 2023. I'm not going to do that this year. But I do make them so that they go together. Like the cupcake liners are either similar colors or they're all colors that are in my party decorations, or like same thing with my frosting, my vanilla frosting. When I did my daughter's unicorn, like I did a multicolored frosting. They're similar, not twins, but they go together. And so that's how I colored these. For the frosting, because I am doing it white, I chose to add the shadows with my gray markers. I chose a warmer gray, just because I felt like it matched better. Like frostings would be a warmer color. I don't really know why I thought that, but that's just how I thought that it would go. So you want to add shadows any points where, or any place where 2 points meet, and any place where one object lays on top of the other. The other place that I chose to add shading just to give them more shape was on the curves. So you'll see in both frostings, like as they're curving up and over, I did add shading there, and this just helped give them more shape. In my original card, all the colors are the same. All the colors are the same. The pink is a little bit darker. I used an RV09, an 04, and an 02. Later on, I'm going to add in a 6 because these things were just really not blending well together. Just real talk. Sometimes that happens. And when I did the first card that I had shared on Instagram, I used an RV00, 02, and 04. So the same color family, but just a little bit lighter. But otherwise, everything was the same, except I swapped out the purple for the red. And that's simply because of that cherry. I knew I was going to have to color that cherry red. As far as I know, cherries don't come in any other color. I could have done it like a reddish purple color, but ultimately it was still going to be red. And so rather than kind of muddying up the waters with a whole lot of extra colors, I just swapped them, and it worked fine. Red's not my preferred go-to. It is my husband's, but it is not mine. But to be fair, purple isn't either. Blue is my boyfriend, as we know from watching this channel. So here, as I was telling you, I was having some trouble with my colors blending, and sometimes that happens. I had a big enough gap between them that I had a whole extra color, and that's how I ended up bringing the 06 to make it work. Pinks are challenging. They lighten up each other, like the RV00 or the RV02 lightens up the darker colors so much. It can be a bit of a challenge to get them to blend. Alternatively, if you don't have a color in between, you can use the tip to tip method. So you would take your lighter color, you would touch it to the nib of the darker color, and then it would pick up some of that pigment, and you would be able to create an almost in-between color. I did not need to do that, but that is an option. So yeah, that's what we got going on here. For the reds, this candle looks like Christmas to me. Now, I know everything else is birthday. I know that I can use red for birthdays, but I do not know why when I look at this red candle with its yellow flame, it just looks like Christmas to me. I have a real problem. I know that. Just like I don't use red and green outside of Christmas. Like they're complementary colors. They look very nice together. They remind me of Christmas. I can't stop it. It's just the way my brain pairs them together. I don't know why. So anyway, I did the candle red. I did the little sprinkles red. And then I'm going to move on over here to doing this cherry. And this is kind of the same idea, except for when I'm doing my coloring, I am attempting to leave my highlights in. So I left a highlight kind of on the bottom right-hand side, and then I left a highlight on the top, like the heart portion of the cherry. Again, if this is a little bit outside of your comfort zone, or you are maybe heavy-handed, which I am, don't stress about leaving the uncolored area white. You can always add it back in with a white gel pen. This is really common in most artworks, whether they're fine art or, more like along the lines of coloring, which is what I do. But gouache is a solid watercolor that they use for highlights and watercoloring. There's all kinds of there's a lot of people who in their drawings use a gel pen like we are here to put those highlights back in. Don't feel bad about that. like don't feel like you should be able to master this skill. Sometimes the markers bleed, sometimes they're too hard to control, and you're just not going to get the result that you think that you should get, and using a white gel pen is perfectly fine. Like knowing what tools you have to fix anything that you don't like. I don't even want to say errors because it's not wrong. But fixing things that you don't like is a large part of being able to create anything that you're happy with, no matter what your medium is. Here with these polka dots, I'm following along the same idea that I had with the blue shadows. So any point where because you have to remember, the polka dot is printed onto this cupcake. So when it's indented, like that's what the look we're trying to get is it's indented. It also is indenting the polka dot. So what you see me doing is adding the darker shading where the line is. So I added my darkest color where the line is, and then my mid-tone next to that, and then I filled it in with the lightest color, just to play up that dimension and make those things make sense. For the heart, I'm basically doing the same thing that I did with the cherry. This probably didn't even need to be left in, but here it is. So, ta-da, heart. For most of the heart, though, most of the hearts, I didn't use, or you can't really see the lightest color, just because they're a little bit tinier. So it was more of a 3-color blend. And then for the sprinkles on this one, I did a combination of red and pink. For the green, I went with a lighter green. You certainly could go with anything that you like, but I knew that I wanted to do that. I wanted to recreate that kind of soft rainbow background that I had on the first card. And in order to do that well, I needed to be able to use a lighter green. And so that is how I was led to the decision to leave my leaves, a little bit lighter instead of going in there and adding what normally for me would be a YG67. Here, I did just want to show you because the leaves were a little bit different. In order to give them a more rounded appearance, I am adding shading to the inside and outside. And this is going to make the highlight in the center, which will give them more movement. Just because these leaves were drawn a little differently, and they're clearly drawn to be, a little more bendy. And so that is how I colored them. For the banners, I'm adding shading to the top and slightly down the sides, and then right along that center area, I'm just putting in a little triangle. I'm coloring them all the same way, so I'm only going to show you one of them, and that just gives it, again, a little bit more movement because the shadow creates a look of the banner bending in. For the triangles, I'm doing the same thing. There's just no bend in the bottom. So just a little bit of darker shading at the top, and then they'll be lighter as they come down and kind of hang down. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There's so much coloring in this. For the little suckers here, I colored them as if they were like cake pops for these two. So I did like a little white chocolate kind of vibe with that same gray combination, the warm grays that I used for the frosting. I know that these look super dark now. They will not once we get the whole scene put together, so just hang tight. We're adding the shadows, we're leaving the centers white, and I'll do the same thing on the other sucker. Will we even have time for story time today? I don't know, but if we don't, I know y'all will be disappointed. So let me just think right quick here. If there's anything, I don't really even know that we have too much going on. We recapped the holidays. And then what have we talked about since, I had my coffee pot issue, which there was a very nice, and I use that term loosely, person who told me that they did not care about my coffee pot. To which I had to remind her that there was a real person on the other end of her message that was receiving it, because I thought maybe she didn't know, because why else would you be that rude? So she does not care about my coffee pot, and that's fine. I don't need her to. Here, something of note, you can see on the left-hand side, that sucker I colored the same way, but I did not end up liking it, so we're going to change that, which is why I cut that part of the coloring out. For the little round one here, obviously my center is directly in the highlight. That's where it's the lightest. So that's how I'm coloring it. I'm adding my darkest reds to the hearts around the edges, and then they will get lighter as they come into the center, very much kind of the same way we colored the polka dots on the cupcake wrapper. And this is just going to give a general overall rounder appearance than just coloring them all the same or coloring them all solid. Though you could, and it would not look bad, just to be clear on that. Yeah, no, I talked to you guys about my mud monsters. Like, really, I don't even know that we have had a whole lot happening. Just like, working. Oh, I will tell you this funny story. So the card that I did, you guys know, obviously our schedules are very hectic. We have a lot of things going on and a lot of things that we have to keep track of. Because we are a blended family, we have that basic schedule that we have to keep track of. Then we have our son's school things, sports things, tutoring things, and then Miss Caitlin's schedule as far as when her daycare is open or closed, because like if she's on vacation then they're closed, and then we're having to figure out where our help is going to come from, usually our parents. So we have that, and then we have our own schedules that we have to keep track of. And so Saturday mornings, I think I've probably shared this with you before, Saturday is my day to get up, Sunday is my husband's day to get up. That way everybody gets one day to sleep in. And we feel like that works for us, and most of the time it does. It's much more fair. So on Saturday, I get up, I go downstairs, I make my tea in my Ziggy mug, and get myself kind of ready. Miss Caitlin is up. I come up and get her. I'm changing her, doing her things. I put her in her pack and play with her little sippy of milk while I go and figure out what I'm going to make her for breakfast. While I'm figuring that out, I am scrolling on my social medias while my coffee is brewing, and I see somebody has tagged me in a photo. And it's a long tag, and I'm like, what is this? And so I look at it, and I'll tell you, it was an Instagram hop that I was a part of, that I did not remember that I was a part of. I literally forgot about the entire thing. I committed to this thing, and I completely forgot about it altogether. And then the panic sets in. I was like, oh no. Because obviously, when I say I'm going to do something, I try to stay true to my commitments. And I don't want her to be disappointed. Because I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So here is what I did. Now my husband, it's his day to sleep in. His problem, like my problems are not his problems. He didn't forget the blog hop. That's not on him. So I get her like situated, I went right for the moneymaker. I turned on Moana right out the gate. Like, this is what I needed. I came upstairs. I took out everything in that stamp set, y'all. I threw it into my Misty. I stamped it down one time. I thanked God that there were dies. I went back downstairs. I got her breakfast together. While she was eating and watching Moana, of which is her favorite movie, she loves it, I was coloring. I colored my cupcakes, I colored my presents, I colored all of my things. She's done eating. I get her cleaned up, I change her, I put her back in her pack and play. I come upstairs, I die cut all of my things that I needed to die cut. I ink blended a background in approximately 30 seconds, like nobody's business. I was an ink blending machine. I smacked some foam tape on the back of it, I glued everything down, I threw it onto my photo board, I snapped photos. And then I went downstairs. Mind you, just so we are aware, she is downstairs, I am upstairs. But I do have the baby monitor. There's a camera that watches her. And so I had that up here so that I could also watch her and sing along with the Moana songs, because you know that I know them all. So does my husband, and so does my son. We all know all the words to the Moana songs because it's her favorite movie. I went back downstairs. I edited my photos on my phone. I could not, for the life of me, figure out how to copy and paste the language for the Instagram hop. It won't let you copy and paste it. So I had to run upstairs, do it on my computer, email it to myself, open my email on my phone, post my photos, which have no watermark on them, by the way, because I was just in, like I said, panic mode. Pasted the information and then posted that puppy, I don't know, 5 minutes after my husband got up. So I tell him, this is the thing that happened to me. And he was like, you should have woke me up. And I was like, no, I wasn't trying to shortchange you out of your day, and it's done. It's over. I've completed it in 1 hour. I was pretty proud of myself. Not proud of myself for forgetting, but proud of myself for really buckling down under pressure and getting it done. And it was a relatively decent card. But that's also why there was no video. Hence why I needed to do today's video. Also gave me another excuse to use these really cute stamps. So there's that. Now let's talk about this background, which is a pretty close replica of the one that I did on the other card. But it took me a little bit more time because I could actually pay attention to what I was doing. So I gave myself a little countertop with the gray. You saw that. I used the blue, and I just decided I was going to put it all along the bottom of it, the like background, because all of my colors played really nicely with the blue. The pink, the yellow, the green all work really well with blue, because blue is a neutral in my opinion. Blue isn't neutral in real life, but my opinion is the one that matters on my channel, and blue is thebomb.com. So with that, after I did my ink blending, I also went in, this is like my trademark thing, I think, with some Perfect Pearls. I spattered that into the background because it makes it look fun and shiny and interesting, and I'm here for all of those things. And then I got to building my card. So because perspective, remember, this bigger cupcake has to go in the front. I put it in the front, just right up to the frame, and then I let my little cake pops kind of hang out. I'm also going to put my little banners on the outside as well. So you have parts that are inside, parts that are outside. It's a multi-dimensional card, but I will tell you, I didn't leave any room for a sentiment, and I had to get a little creative with that, because sometimes, you know, you're just on the roll, making the scene, doing your thing, and then you're like, where do I put the sentiment? And sometimes, ultimately, I end up to leave them with no sentiment, and that's almost how this card came up until this last idea came to me. So here what I'm doing is I'm gluing everything to themselves. So like if they're going to go together as one piece, I just glued them together. So I glued this sucker to my background cupcake, and now I'm going to glue it to my actual background. So that's going to be flat. Here is where I probably made my error, and I do have some regrets. Because you know that I don't like the finicky pieces. I don't like, that's why me and die cuts aren't, like standalone dies are not big fans. So I glued the little cake pops to the outside of the frame. I also glued the one on the side, though I don't believe I showed you that part. And then that way I'm going to glue my banners, and then I'll be able to flip the whole thing over. And then what am I going to do? I am going to use foam tape to give me some dimension. I think Scotch has changed their formula. I have used Scotch foam tape before it was cool. I used Scotch foam tape to get dimension on things when everybody else was using pop dots. I have been using Scotch foam tape for my entire card making career, but something has happened to it, and I do not know what it is. It is squishier now and stickier, and it's kind of not good. It's really not good. It's very poor. I don't like it. Makes it very challenging to use it and to cut it, and that's why in some videos you see me kind of venturing out, but I have the Scotch tape and I have to use it up. So after painstakingly spending upwards of 20 minutes getting all of my foam tape on, which would not be the case if you were using better foam tape, I was able to adhere my frame popped up over my background. Do I love the look? Yes. Would I do it again? Yes. Because I like the look of it, but it's such a pain in my tushy. So in order to ground my image, I am adding, just with the cool grays, I'm adding a little shadow underneath that sucker and that cupcake. The other one, this cherry on top, like it's so up front that you can't actually see where it's seated. So no shadow is necessary to go behind that one. Only the ones where you can see the bottoms and they need to be grounded. So at this point, I am going to go through and I am going to color my die cuts into my scene. This is a personal preference. You don't have to do that. If you don't mind the white edges, rock and roll. Just move on to your next step that you're doing. But I do mind. So I color them. And then I realized as I'm looking at this, I didn't color the banners. I completely forgot about the banners. Oh, Lord. Well, it's going to stay that way. So I went in with my white gel pen. I added any highlights that I felt like were missing. And then I realized that somewhere along the way, I'm going to have to put a sentiment on this. These are super cute little scripty sentiments. This one says happy birthday. My favorite one, really, truly, is the one in Sweet Witches. You know, I did that before and I had to start my voiceover. Sweet Wishes. And it says, thank you for making the world suck less. You know, because they're suckers. I thought that was adorable. I'm going to use that on a card. But anywho, so because I didn't leave a spot for my sentiment, I cue more foam tape that I abhor. It is, this foam tape and me are not friends, but I spent money on it and I'm a cheap chicken and I'm committed to using it until it's gone. So I put little teeny tiny pieces over the parts that would overhang, and then I'm going to put glue on the other side. And ultimately what I ended up deciding to do was put it on the bottom so that it overhangs. What's the proper way to say that? Not sure. But it overhangs the frame, and then it doesn't take away from my scene. So it still says happy birthday. It's still in there, but it doesn't remove anything from the scene and it doesn't look out of place. Then the last thing that I did was more glitters, because I love all the glitters. I'm using Stardust Stickles. They take on the color of whatever you put them on. So in my opinion, they are the best Stickles color. But if you have colored stickles, you could certainly use those. Or if you have another, like a diamond or a crystal that you like, you do you, boo. I like the Stardust. And then that's it. That's the whole card. So if you're not familiar with the Rabbit Hole designs, Marianne is wonderful, and I would highly recommend checking out their stamps. They're super high quality, and I appreciate that she has given me such an opportunity to work with them, even though I forgot about her Instagram hop. So then, yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.